This is numbers 23 and 24 on the study guide. So number 23 says a school has 80 students that are taking an AP math class, and of these students, 20 of them are also taking an AP computer class. 100 students are not taking an AP math class, but 30 of these are taking a computer class. So basically what we've got is a set of AP students, and they're taking math, or they're taking, a computer course. So if I'm doing this, let's go ahead and say that this group right here would represent my AP math students. So then that means that this group would be not taking an AP math. Likewise, this here could be my AP computer science. That means that this group here would be not taking AP computer. And then these would be my totals. Always want our totals at the end so we can kind of compare them. So here we go. We have a school has 80 students that are taking an AP math class. So total of 80 math students. So total goes here, 80. Of these students, 20 of them are also taking computer. So they're in AP math and computer. So automatically I know that that has to be 60. It says 100 students are not taking an AP math class. So they're not taking an AP math class. So 100 of them total. But 30 of these students are taking a computer class. So 30 are taking computer. So that puts this total here at 70. So if I add here, then I'd have 50. This here would be 130. And those two columns together make a total of 180 students that we're looking at. So it says, how many students are not taking an AP math or computer course? So they're not taking any AP course. And that's just going to be 70 students that are not taking either AP course. What's the probability that a student is randomly selected who does not take either AP course? So they're not taking any, so that would be 70 out of the total amount of students, which is 180. And then you always want to simplify your probability here. When you do that, you can put that in your calculator as 70 divided by 180, and then you can simplify. In this case, it's going to give us 7/18. All right, what's the probability that a student is randomly chosen who takes both AP courses? So they're taking both AP Math and AP Computer Science. So we have 20 of those students, so they're both in both of these, out of the total of 180. And again, you can just take your calculator if you need to and simplify it, or you can reduce that fraction, and that's going to give you 1/9. And then it says, of the students who take an AP course, so now we're limiting this. So they are in an AP computer course, so definitely this. So that means we have 50 total students we're talking about that are in AP computer course. What's the probability that the student will also take an AP math course? And that would be 20. So we simplify that, and we're talking 2/5. On number 24, it says we have a school dance that specializes in 3 forms. So let's go ahead and set this up. And keep reading. The school has an enrollment of 420 students. 140 students are trained in both ballet or jazz. So we're looking at whether they're in ballet or not in ballet, and whether they're in jazz or not in jazz. Okay? And then these would be my total columns, total and total. So here we go. The school has an enrollment of 420 students. That's 420 in all. 140 students are trained in both ballet or jazz. So ballet or jazz right here, so we have 140. 80 students are trained in ballet but not in jazz. So they're in ballet but not jazz. So right now we're talking here about 220 students. And if I have 420 here, that leaves me 200 left for not taking ballet. 60 students are not trained in ballet nor jazz. So this would be 60. If I subtract here, that makes this 140, which puts this here at 280. And then if I add that, that's 140. So now I've got my frequency table filled in. What percentage of students only take hip-hop? We have to read the question carefully, because if you go back to the beginning, it says the school specializes in ballet, jazz, and hip-hop. And so if they're taking hip-hop, that means they're not in ballet and they're not in jazz. So when we look, not in jazz, not in ballet, puts us at 60. 60 out of how many total students? 420. So we want to change this to percent because that's what the question is asking for. So 60 divided by 420 puts us at a percent that's roughly about 14.3%. All right, so then it says, all the students of the school try out for So You Think You Can Dance. One student makes it onto this show. What's the probability that this student takes ballet from the school but not jazz? So they're in ballet but not jazz, so that's 80 out of a total of 420. And so if we simplify that again, we're just going to change this because it says the probability, so we want this in terms of a fraction. That's going to be 4 out of 21. Of the students who take jazz, so we're limiting here, out of our total of students taking jazz, that's 280 of them, what's the probability that a randomly selected student will also take ballet? So we have 140 out of this 280, which is actually going to reduce to 1/2.